mission is to do a documentary on ethnic and cultural diversity in Liberia, which is the major theme running through my book, The Land of My Father's Birth.
I don't like to see our people divided as a country, as a country.
Are we learning lessons from our own past? Have we learned lessons from our own past? And are we learning lessons from what is happening now?
We have to agree, acknowledge, and celebrate the fact that Liberia belongs to no group. All of the groups in this country came here. None of them came out of the ground.
Division in our country has been our weakest link. Come to Lofa, first if that other county you would say the Lofa or Nimba. Then when you reach in a county now, you see division among the tribes. When you reach in the very tribe, you see that there are division in the clan. So division, ethnicity is our weakest link, really.
When you call names, it seems as though you're talking about huge community or large country. Those are just divisions in our minds. To be Madingo, to be Gio, to be Christian, to be Muslim, I see no difference. We all created for a purpose and we're pursuing those purposes according to where we are.
Sensitivity is very important and it appears to be lacking. Even though we are neighbors geographically, we are living side by side, but we are not really into IT, we are not really engaged.
As an individual, religion aside, I really enjoy diversity. I really enjoy variety.
The truth of the matter is, our people do not have a sound understanding of who we are. Okay? They do not have a sound understanding.
As it relates to diversity, I think we need to go back to our traditional method, where the old people sit down and discuss the issue, identify the ills, and we find common solution.
Given all of your long profile as a public servant, what is your perspective on the issue of ethnic and cultural diversity in Liberia?
I do have a good appreciation of our ethnic diversity when it comes to groups in Liberia.
What can we all do to reconcile our people, to cement the relationships amongst all of the different tribes in our country, in our country? Everyone has a role. Look at the fruit. Right. When you look at the creation of God beyond the human family, you enjoy it.
Violence cannot bring progress in the country. So the peace we got on the surface, it looks good, but it's fragile.
I think it's a good thing that we are diverse. We're not just one group, we are different groups. And the differences bring us together and makes us stronger. I usually like to explain that having the different ethnic groups we have in Liberia is like building a house, especially a concrete house. You have to have different kinds of material. You have the sand, you have the cement, you have the crushed rocks, and you have the steel rods. If you want to build the house with only one ethnic group, and that ethnic group may be the group that has the sand, that house will not stand. You want to build it with one ethnic group that only comprised of the cement, it will not stand. One ethnic group that's only the crushed rock, it will not stand. One ethnic group that only the steel rod, it will not stand. You have to take the talents, the endowments, the abilities of all of these groups, their wisdom and everything, blend them to build this structure.
When you talk about ethnic and cultural diversity, that's a very important topic you're discussing. from the perspective of the religion that we believe in, which is Islam, we are told in the Holy Quran that by God Himself, that, "O you, mankind, I created you from a single pair of male and female and multiply you into tribes and nations so that you may recognize one another. But the noble or the noblest of you in the sight of Allah is the person who is God-fearing, is the person who is conscious of the laws God made." So, if you look at that Quranic presentation of cultural and ethnic diversity, you want to see the wisdom, the divine wisdom behind that creation, because if God wanted all of us to be banana or oranges, we would have been. If He wanted all of us to be one tribe or one particular culture, there would be complete homogeneity and culture. But He decided to create us into nations and tribes. But He said one thing, "Lita'arafu," so that can be a means for us to identify one another. So the ethnic and cultural diversity is this divine creation that beautifies the world, that makes every observer of the diversity to enjoy this world.
I think Liberia, even though it's a very, very small country, we are very blessed to have the kind of diversity we have in ethnicity, and there is so much we can harness as a people from those cultural diversities, those cultural traditions and norms, those cultural artifacts, etc. Our arts and culture, very rich in terms of the diversity. Our diet, very rich in diversity. So yes, I'm one of those who I get very excited when I do recognize the positive aspects of our cultural diversity.
If we discourage politicians from using ethnicity as a means of politics, if we discourage our people from campaigning based on ethnic line, if we discourage politics from within our mainstream if we discourage ethnicity from within our mainstream politics, I think we can positively use ethnicity to promote our culture as a people, a way of life. Because my understanding of ethnicity means more or less a way of life. To be able to exhibit who you are, cherish it, and then pass it on to the generation to come. Unfortunately, we use politics in Liberia to enhance ethnicity, unfortunately. And I believe that our new generation of politicians must come in this country that we refuse to use ethnicity. I should not try to thrive on becoming from Nimba as a means of getting to national eminence.
A highly illiterate nation is a troublesome nation. And when education is there, the minds are open, the hearts are open, and then you know you're right, you know you're wrong. You know that you need to live in harmony with your fellow human being. That education can help to promote.
The late Professor Bladden said, when people are discriminated, when people are mistreated, when people got to know that they have been discriminated and they have been mistreated, they don't need any external influence. They don't need that. The moment they got to know, they themselves will react. And when the Muslims got to know in Liberia that their rights of free movement, their right of cultural divisibility is now respected, they will react. And when they react, nobody can stand them.
Okay, we can even visit the issue of intermarriages, the constraints to those things, as being a barrier for true reconciliation, a really the true meaning of neighborliness. So, cultural diversity and sensitivity to cultural diversity is important, especially for us to move ahead as a society. We will show tolerance for one another, especially of our differences. It's the most important part.
What kind of thing they ain't supposed to pull people together? How will our people there, they are useless, they can't bomb our Mandingo, Mandingo can bomb our them, they can make people get vexed. Hey, you understand it? So I was talking it right here. I say it's true because Mandingo people children in the town plenty. But you will never see one human bomb a Mandingo woman. You understand? But now time day, we should all who can come together. We all are one.
Yes.
We are the same blood.
Yes.
You understand? So I James K. Batua, I'm a old military man. I don't fear nothing but to do wrong.
To get involved in peacekeeping, in negotiation, in dialogue, you got to be straightforward. Don't be like crabs. You know, human beings are bend. That's how God made nature. Nature, the road not straight. Just as you see a road not straight, car can go so. That's how human beings are. If you want to be straight, they will hit you.
But you see, the issue of political interventions sometimes may not work, especially based on perception, prejudice, and personal feelings. Now, Nimba country has come a long way. And when I went to Nimba, the last time I went to Nimba, my father had 2 wives, one Mano and one Mandingo. So the issue of diabetes had never been a problem in my family and in my surrounding. But what are the bad consequences? When 2003 came, there was a lot of misperception, especially as it relates to land. And you now know Toby from San Jose Central, where you have the 12 class, where you have Mano, Dio, Kwan, even B, sharing the same principal means. And even in the instant where you found one family providing the means for this family. So diversity at that time was very positive. But people have beyond diversity to perpetuate their own criminal intent.
So Liberia is actually the putting together of various groups from various backgrounds, religious, cultures, political, social, that created what Africa can celebrate as a nation that has experienced 167 years of independence. So diversity was and is still good for us.
We tried to convince some of our people. We said that car food that we took, that our parents, our grandparents took those days, stay fresh now as when it was taken. And if anybody who attempt to overlook it, you will suffer. And this is why Nimbayans suffer this war than any other county in Liberia, because we violate our own oath, and we continue to violate that oath. And unless we come back to our senses, Nimba will continue to retrogress.
Because I stood in the middle of some people during the meeting, and I told them, you got Manipo land giving, you got Manipo land giving, you got Gilpo land giving. And the thing is that you people are our uncles. We cannot divorce you, you cannot divorce us. Many years back, people came, whether you came as traders and you married to our forefathers' children and they born you, we are one. That country belongs to us all. Belong to us all.
Again, I have welcomed that. I was brought up as a Christian, but I was also brought up in the presence of Islam side by side, because my father was a devout Muslim. He went off to pray in his studies, etc. And we asked questions, and he being the liberal person that he was, he did not impose Islam on us. He did not impose Islam on us. In fact, he had said that all of us should be given an opportunity to choose what we wanted to be. It so happened the children are left to the mother. So the mother carried us off to church more often. And so that is how we grew up to say, okay, we will accept the Christian religion. But half of my relatives are Muslims, and we join in for different celebrations. I mean, Ramadan is coming to an end now, and we are all involved in it in terms of the sharing and the receiving.
Agree, when we were growing up, we didn't know the differences in ethnic, especially Ganta as a community. But then now, looking in hindsight, I can see that there were problems that were not addressed, and in most of the time we react to situation. We don't see it ahead. You know, we have never emphasized that anybody of Negro descent who is born in this country is a citizen of this country. It doesn't matter that. So some people are still seen, called, and described as strangers. This is the problem. Yeah, we're living there, but we still say, hey, look, if my parents came from Ghana and they born me in Benin district, I may be born there, grow up there, but if I want to be anything else, I say that man is from Ghana because that's where his father comes from. So it's not an ethnic thing per se, it's a cultural thing. That's what I'm discovering.
Take for instance, when they were playing the World Cup in Brazil, different nations. Of course, people are, when they stand on their two legs, you know, their salute or their structural appearance the same. But the moment they speak, you know, they speak different tones. That's by the fact that we use the self-same organ, the tongue, the teeth, the lips, you know, the vocal cord to put out the sound, but the sounds are different. These are the wonders of God in creation. And I think what one needs to do is to celebrate it. So whenever I see people at loggerhead trying to base their wrong judgment on the basis of differences of culture or ethnicity, I think that's a misrepresentation of the divine wisdom behind the creation.
You know, everywhere. If you come to the country, then you have what they call Congo people and country people. Among the country people, the very Congo people, they have the people they call the Up River people. And you know, so it's everywhere.
You look at the ocean, you see fish of different species, of different family, of different colors and different sizes, and we have even given them different nomenclature. We enjoy them. We don't want everything to be snapper or mackerel or herrings, you know. Then we look at the birds that fly the sky. You also see that diversity. Then you come to the plant kingdom. You look at the variety of fruit. We enjoy all these. We don't want to suck orange or eat apple throughout. We want to blend it with banana, with plantain, with jam. So that is the diversity that God implanted. Those are the divine formula God put in the cosmos, in the universe that we enjoy. So personally, I enjoy it. I don't know how life would have been if we were all just the same, without any heterogeneity, without any heterogeneous or differences among us. But God put it there, and there is a reason for that, and we must celebrate it. We must intensify the objectification of that cultural and ethnic diversity.
Family recognize and embrace each other regardless. So I have no problems at all with my Muslim relatives. In fact, I think I'm probably much more sensitive to them because I'm a Christian, and but you know, like I said, I'm open, I'm tolerant, and we embrace our Muslim relatives. and we appreciate them, and we know that that's their choice. They have chosen to be that, and our ancestors were that, and I respect it a lot. And I recognize the teachings of Islam, of the Holy Quran, definitely. And I'm saying yes, it is their right, and it doesn't change us being cousins or sisters or relatives.
The worst thing that is happening, that notion of American Liberians and the indigenous Liberian syndrome is resurfacing, and that will not be good for this country. Their group also are coming out that Liberia should be declared as a Christian nation, and some legislature, I don't know whether they spoke out of over emotionalism. They say, yeah, it's supposed to be like that. Are you talking about bringing class system in Liberia after the Civil War? Will anybody allow himself or herself to be subjugated to any group against their will? No. Then you are planting another seed of conflict in Liberia.
Nimba issue can be resolved, but the issue in Nimba right now, the people have politicized the issue in Nimba, because reconciliation has never been a problem between Manu, you, and Madini. It has never been a problem. But while up to present, since 2010, well, there have been no progress. One of the best residue for this crisis was the second of the Musa Ability Commission, where you have 17 prominent in Bani, chaired by Honorable Musa Ability. While up to now, there have been no progress. While up to now, the president is still making political statements, while there have been no actions. You understand? If diversity was in a proper perspective, some of the issues would have been resolved in Nimba without any government intervention.
How do we intend to address that in the county? Well, the county administration is set up through the appointing authority of the president by virtue of the constitution. But in our working is to engage people of all the cultures, especially of the county. For example, I've been going to meet imams at the mosque in Kanta and cited meeting with them. Our political liaison officer is of the Manigo Islamic background, which serves as a link to that community. We made our first visit to Bi and Doru, where it's largely Bi and Doru people, to ensure that if you thought of and give them hope that they are very much a part of the county. And then we went to Babli Chiefdom, where is the crown of the district of the county. The purpose of the first few months doing that is to assure them that we want to bring everybody together. So beyond that now, we intend to ensure that their areas are also prioritized. But this is what I call special attention should be given to their areas. So that is what we are doing at the level. It is when we have access, then social, economic interaction can begin to take place.
Since charity begins at home, I joined the Musa Ability Presidential Land Committee to bring about peaceful harmony among our people. Because at that time, there were too many problems. One had to do with land. It still has to do with land now.
The way I see it, I think the government show concern, and the government of Liberia through the president also show commitment. What is lacking is leadership in Nimba County. I think our political leaders have not made this land issue a major issue, and that has continued to disturb us. So as long as we have those kind of issues, our lawmakers and our everyday politicians, people that you met here today, if there's riot in Nimba County, that becomes an issue. If there's something else in Nimba County, But the fundamental issue of the land, the leadership, the political leadership of the opinion leadership of Nimba has not taken it up as an issue. And as long as that happens, we're not going to resolve the problem.
There were huge portions of land that were taken by our people from our uncle the Mandingos. There were even some Manas who took Mana people land. There were some people who took Gyo people land. You know, it was just like that. It was not Gyo Mana on one side against the Mandingo. It was just a combination of problems. So we succeeded to a larger extent to bring some of our people from exile who got properties in Nimba but were taken over by others. So we made them give it back, and they returned from Guinea. Though the problem is still there, but it's good that we have begun a process that is working. A lot of people now inbound, in Secretary, people living there, no trouble. But immediately after the war and the election, it was difficult to find Mandingos. There were few people who were brave to stay with me, but the anti-Mandingo sentiment, it was there, but it's kind of maximally reduced.
Do we know what really brought about Boko Haram? That can be Boko Haram too. If government is not doing anything about it. That can be a Sunday Haram. If government is doing nothing about it. Even the Internal Affairs Ministry closed down a church in Lofa County for Poro.
So many...
I mean, are we really practicing democracy?
Some individuals have come together to say, we want the People's United Party, PUP, launched by some honorable and reputable people to guarantee the election of an indigenous Liberian. That is dangerous. That is dangerous. Our society must evolve on a national scale. On a national scale. Any Liberian has a right to hold any political office. And I think it is dangerous when people start saying indigenous, that this is exclusively for indigenous. We want national leaders.
One issue that I think about all the time, in Liberia, if you go in a crowded place today and say Basa, Ki or Mano, the negative flashes in people's mind.
Yeah, because over the years, we have used these differences to victimize people. They should not be. You go to other countries, for instance, America, I lived there and worked at the Embassy of Liberia, and I went to school there at Wesley Theological Seminary. And they have Irish American, Polish Americans, all kinds of Americans.
Arab American, African American.
Yes. So why is it that we will think that, for instance, my mother is Gribble, my father is Bassa, and I'm a Liberian. You from the Mandingo ethnic group, you are a Liberian. So why do we have to fuss about that?
The Mandingos are out of Nimba because they have seen that those who encroach on their properties are not prepared to give back to them. And we see among Mana and Mana, Gear and Gear, even fighting one another to the extent that some kill one another. Over land issue. The Mandingos are trying to avoid that. But when it becomes crystal clear that you have to use force, then Professor Wallow philosophy will come in. Full man, full medicine. And this is what we try to avoid. We try to talk to our people, exercise patience. But Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government is doing zero when it comes to reinforcing the agreement that was reached between the Ministry of Internal Affairs as to the time of turning over the property. And unless government takes seriousness, trouble will come at last.
We've been studying the situation because, it's one thing to try to do something, it's a totally different thing to do the right thing. Okay? There was a committee, I understand, that came up with MOUs to pay people money, and then they were supposed to move, and they are not moving. Okay? And then the issues of tenureship, who owns the land, the basis for claiming ownership. For example, Kanta, just as a natural person who grew up there, I've literally can walk and point at families that live in certain places. So in my judgment, when somebody brings a document to me, I can look at the document, the writing may be fine, the legal context all will be fine. But the practical reality, I can walk there and say, if Keita was born here and we went to Ganta Meadows together, or Kroma lived here and he went to unit school and we played football and I went to Ganta Meadows. And my father has a land that he does not have a deed for, because to get to the president of Sandy is difficult. How can we, in practical terms, then say that somebody having a deed is a requirement to showing ownership? You got the point I'm making? Because if you say that, then it means I don't own the land. It alienates all of us. It disenfranchises all of us. Because the place I was born, we do not have a deed signed by the president. But I bet if somebody were to come there, because we were way due to war, and try to take our one little house our father built that we grew up in, it's going to be a problem. So I'm still getting into these things so that I can make the appropriate recommendation to the president. And since it's just 3 going to 4 months, I don't want to come up with something and later discover some things. So as soon as we get, something, not in a too distant future, we'll begin to talk to the president directly on the way forward.
I think government has to be very drastic in implementing those recommendations as they're in the report. Until that can be done, I can tell you, my brother, that Liberia is not a welfare state where money will be dished out to people without even taking stock action. If the government is with them, of course, even the landowner must be compensated too. Because if you pay me for money, my land, and I fail to vacate the premises, then of course I have no moral ground to even challenge the government. But this is a situation. But for us, for my group, predominantly Madingo, Babio, Emmanuel, and all that, you have to show you that indeed we respect diversity. I think the way forward for us is, first of all, for the government to be very pragmatic, to be impartial in implementing those recommendations.
The problem, the danger in what is happening in Nimba County is that if they don't resolve it, those that are aggrieved will one day, rise up. Revolution, you know the story. It has always been about land, about the land law versus the landless. I'm from Nimba. So you think I was born in a sky? That I don't have a home to live in today because somebody feel that I should not have it? That's not, if I take it, I'm not sure whether my son will take it. It has to be resolved. I believe that the leadership must do something to resolve it.
People were manipulated in the war by the sentiments and pushed those ideas and beliefs to a people who did not have the full understanding of what was happening in the country.
It will be perpetuating the ethnic divide. If a management becomes a superintendent tomorrow, all should be able to respect that person because they're the superintendent.
Right.
Because we are two Geo senators. I don't see anybody going to war for that. Tomorrow we'll have 2 Manigo senators. That's what I told people when they said we should be divide the county right after the election. I said no. Okay, so I don't think that's the way. These are the approaches that that are dangerous. I only live cover on for things to boil and then explore in the future. Because if I get a job because of my ethnic background, okay, then I'm not bound not to perform. So ethnic nursing, the county structure is not a way to the future. It's not a way forward.
At certain time, I felt that it was a disgrace to Liberians to see our legislators, those who elected, we elected them to represent us, to be at loggerhead, castigating one another, condemning one another. I wrote them as senior citizen of Nimo County. Up to now, no one. I wrote the caucus just to meet the caucus and talk to them. None of them cared to respond to my letter. And so I don't see any of them serious about reconciliation. When President Black died, when the Mandingos went there, they offered 1 cow and 100,000 Liberian dollars as our contribution for the funeral. I told them.
That's something to think about. A society where no group is marginalized or left out. The basis for that is general awareness.
What really motivated me was the fact that a Christian president became a dictator, killing our people. And all Christian nations failed us. Our people sought refuge to other Christian embassies, Romantic enclave. They denied them entrance. Some who allowed them to enter, opened the door to be massacred. You know the story. We looked everywhere, nobody, no Christian nation. Then Gaddafi opened up. That week Gaddafi day, I will never forget. Because if he didn't open up, if you had said, look, your Christian people killing each other, to hell with you, you'll stay there. Where are we? There'll be no Nimba. When he opened arms, there's a Muslim opening arms to Christians like us, giving us training to come back and remove the system that kill our people. A dictatorial, diabolical system. And he fed us, if he saw me those days, I will follow buffalo. Okay, and they took proper care. But when you enter the Libya airport, you will see Quran is the law of the land here. You can't find one Christian church. But the man was a secular individual. Like Musa Bilete. He's a Muslim. He has a radio station. But Christians go broadcast there. They won't go, I love that. It's not segregated. It's open to all. I went to ERBC, Andrew Mann refused me. 2 years he refused me. It's not surprising to me because the Spirit of God never told me to vote for him when he came to confirmation. I told my colleague, that guy will be bad guy. That guy is evil. And true, he proved it. But Musa opened arms. And so, Gaddafi may be there today. But the fact that he opened arms to us to remove the person that was killing us and to bring everybody back home is a joy to me. The way to pay back is to support Muslims positively. To make sure that all Mandingos who are Muslims in our country, that we make sure that we live together in harmony. Even if it has to do with providing a county, because you have 15 counties, 16 tribes, right? 15 counties, 15 tribes. Why is the county for the Muslim? Muslim in Lofa, Muslim in Bo, Muslim in Nimba. I mean, we should have a particular country for them too.
The compact that was taken, that kafu that we took when we became known Zami, we need to revisit that, reaffirm it.
Again, that's what I said. The local government should enforce this. The local government should enforce it. If you have received the money by law, you should move. And I think if we are not careful with this land business, I heard 48 hours ago, some people attempted to do something, they had to be stopped. Now, that means those people have now they finally understood that since they don't want to do it peacefully, anytime somebody want to take our land, we'll go there to threaten violence. We're going the wrong way. If leadership does not come in, something else will come that we don't like. We did 18 months of hard work to come out with that report. That report is the solution to Nimba's land problem. If it is not implemented, we're not going to. And I don't see the reason of there being another commission. You just have to take that paper and enforce it and implement it to the fullest so that everybody can feel a part of the system.
I think that if no society makes progress without following rules that it makes to guide the conduct of everybody. And then the rules should be particular and should evolve. It appears that some of our rules are just extracted from outside sources, airlifting, put on the boats for us. So you see some of them that are not practical. So as you go to carry them, you see so much resistance, so much disenchantment as a result of that. Two, people are not aware of what they're supposed to do. Let me give you an example. Sanitation. Everybody knows that you're not supposed to bury, or it's written, the law was written in the 50s that you're not supposed to bury in the town. But even well-educated people don't even know that. Well-educated people don't even know that. Those who are supposed to read don't even know that. Okay? So now, if it is you go to enforce that law right now, people have problem with you. People have problem with you. If first, secondly, now that they don't know that, they don't even know the impact why the law was made. That is the basis. It was based upon scientific evidence. That the chemical used to preserve body has a tendency to have a negative impact on the groundwater. So if people get to understand that and know the reason why the government passed that law, it makes enforcement easy.
The president received the report, and as far as we are concerned, disburse money according to the report. If you take money, and don't live up to it, you can be charged. Not only you should be removed, but you should be charged. For receiving money under false pretense.
If our people rise up to the task and become educated and be like every other person who's striving to live in the community of nations, the stigma is going to go away. People are not going to look at your tribe. They're going to look at what you can bring, what you can do, what your input is to this country. Mandingos have been traders. They've been successful. They have things that they do very well. Taxi driving, bus driving, truck driving. Today, if they stop, there's a problem in town. We have our own area, but we should go beyond our borders. We should become doctors. We should become lawyers. We should become teachers. We should become engineers, architects, pilots. Right. And then people wouldn't say this man won't fly me because he's Mandingo. They say he's qualified. So with education, you break barriers. Borders become borderless. And in this time, our country, regardless of whether you're Mandingo, or Gola, or Gisi, or Loma, or Kra, we need to embrace the way forward, education, in order to break down the barriers that have kept us divided, that will lead to situations like we've seen in the past that we don't want to go back to.
For instance, my people, the basketball love to say, I'm going to blow you. We are children of the soil. It's not true. Basketball didn't come from under the ground.
Definitely. No one
Bassa people are more in Cameroon today than they are in Liberia in terms of numbers, and they speak the same Bassa. It means that they migrated. You go to Kenya, they have the Kabura. Kenya, you have the Mombasa. Zambia, you have Kabura Bassa Dam, CBASSA. Then you go to Cameroon where you have the big Bassa group. From Cameroon, you go to Nigeria. In Lagos, they have a whole political subdivision called the Bassa local government area. And I have a book called The Bassa Heart, written by a missionary and his wife who had ministered among the Bassa people of Nigeria for 35 years.
Wow.
You leave Nigeria, you come to the Ivory Coast, they have Grand Bassam, and you come to Liberia, we have Grand Bassa.
And I hope we can find a way to begin to do those kinds of things. How people leave from one country, go to another country, and have the opportunity of upward mobility, both social and economic upward mobility. Without a hindrance, structural hindrance. So I'm not sure, but we welcome people, we live with them. But we don't change our mentality about them as coming from somewhere, even though we all came from somewhere.
You people who in America, the Liberians in America, should practicalize their union. Make it practical and practicable. And then come out with the idea of what you are talking about. Well, as long as the Liberians in America are not together at the lockerhead and they have the same perception against one another, you'll be a monk.
Well, yeah, it's we have a lot of issue about reconciliation, how they meeting people eat together and go. But we've done this, and it's not proven to be the solution. So now it's time to think. The issues we need to address realistically for reconciliation is people's rights should be legitimately adjudicated. They can feel that it is being treated fairly. Because without that, we sit together, and if I own a piece of property and someone taking it from me using rules that cannot be evenly applied, I will not be happy. So we'll look at a reconciliation program, but want to take a different twist, to be sure that we are not looking at a shadow, we're thinking that it's the real object. That's what I think we should look at.
I hope this interview is going to unite this country. It's going to make us borderless. It's going to make us love what God has given us, because we are gifted people. We just need to peel back the covering, and then we'll have gems. We have a lot in this country that's hidden. We just need to take time to clean it.
I dream about the day in Liberia where the Vi man who was born in Lofa, has lived in Lofa all his life, can aspire superintendent or representative in Lofa County. And vice versa. I dream of the day when the man from Nimba, whose parents settled in Sino, and he grew up there and loves Sino like his own, will have an opportunity to represent people. Those are what national leaders about.
Once we have a democratic process ongoing, and you and I feel comfortable go to school and we know one another, it will pass away. What is important is the democratic tenets must be in place, that people vote their minds freely. And more people get educated and informed. And then the ethnic cleansing goes away. Manugo man will be president of this country too if Obama can be president of the United States. But the way to do it is not to ethnicize and perpetuate ethnic divide.
Liberians have a bad habit of deliberately refusing to remember. I usually say that Liberians have a giant computer where we put all of our information all day long. At midnight when we are about to sleep, we press one button
and delete everything.
Delete, because the computer has one button, delete.
What I say is that when it comes to marriage, 99% of ethnic groups marry to each other.
Yeah.
The one that marry outside of their ethnic group or their racial group is a minority. So all over the world, the reason you still have Bassa people, you still have Mandingo people, you still have all these groups, because they marry among each other. So the one that the women that are married outside of the culture, the men that are married outside of the culture is in minority compared to the general rule.
In fact, among the Bassa people, among all the groups in Liberia, it was against the law to get married to somebody outside of your group. It was recently in the 40s, the 50s that people started to go outside of the group.
But again, when we even look at the issue of marriage, I know it's very important to discuss that in the Liberian context. Okay, the way the Mandingo view marriage in Liberia, to me, is somehow different from other Liberians in the sense that if you bring 1,000 Mandingo women right here, chances are that the 1,000 between the age of 18 to 25 to 30, chances are that 80% to 90% will be married. Because for the Mandingo, no relationship is considered genuine in the eyes of our parent until it is legitimized by marriage. Or in the sense that I cannot take my girlfriend and proudly show that girlfriend to my mother and my father. That would be considered insult. All right, which is to some extent tolerable within other culture, and I believe that that is because of the encroachment of the Western culture on our cultures as a whole.
But look, before the Western culture dominated us, the same thing you had about people introducing somebody who's going to be their wife was in all of our groups. Because, for instance, in the Bassa, everybody would know that this young man is attracted to this young lady. As soon as the older people in the family get to know that, a delegation will leave from that family to that other family to say, we're going to let you know our son like your daughter. And so we're going to let you know that we'll be coming to officially announce to you. Then they will go there and have a ceremony where they announce. When you people accept, they will come back another time for another ceremony. That is a ceremony of closing the door. That means as long as when we leave from here, no other man comes here to say you like this girl. Then they come back another time, putting a hand on the person's back, engaging them. Then the arrangement is made for the marriage. So everybody had that.
So I believe those days, a woman couldn't just live with a man.
No.
She was not married too.
No. So she was not used to talk to the man alone.
Yeah. So what we have in Liberia now, the Western culture has dominated other cultures, but to some extent because of Islam, the Mandingo have resisted that Western culture.
And for a long time, the Mandingo group resisted going to Western type schools. They had their own small schools.
Madrasa. Which
Yeah.
we are all put up.
Yes, and now the other groups also had their school. They had a Poorer Society, they had a Sunday Society, the group people got their group, everybody got their group. But in the 1920s, the Poorer and Sunday became so powerful in Liberia that the President King was constrained to ban them for a long time. We shouldn't worry about any ethnic tension. There won't be any tension if we enlighten our people. Because of all the discrimination we have in this country, as I speak to you today, there's a Fuller lady who is Deputy Director, Deputy Commissioner of Immigration. Asatuba Kane. And there are people who say they are not, Fuller should not be counted. The first indigenous Secretary of State of Liberia was a Mandingo Mamadou Dukule. The first commander of the Liberian Frontier Force, indigenous, was a Mandingo, Amadou V. Salif. He was succeeded by another Mandingo, William W. Kessley. It's documented in a book by Dr. Augustine Conant. In his book on the migration of the Mandingos and their economic activities, it's clear that President CDB King passed an executive order or some ruling in the 1920s that the Mandingo people should not be subjected to manual labor, building roads and all of that because they are praying people. That is one of the main reasons why we hate your When I say we, I mean the rest of the tribes. Because the other people say, what? How come these people will not work and we gotta work? So where the people are praying people? Because you see, Liberia has 3 heritages when it comes to religion. Liberia has the traditional religionists, the African tradition religions that came here first. Then the second group to come was Islam. The last group to arrive was Christianity. Christianity arrived in 1820s on Providence Island. So when you make the 1820 people make a law that the second group of people should not work on the road, but the first group of people should work on the road. Then the first group of people get vexed with the second group.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
It's been great meeting you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Boya.
Thank you.